Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here. Now, for today, what can I say? We're starting up an incredible, super kick-ass week with someone who is super badass, incredible, the legendary, the amazing, the one and only Francesca. Francesca, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And what better way, as I was saying, to start a kick-ass, super badass week than to be chatting with someone as badass as you know what I mean?
Thanks. You as well.
Couldn't agree more. Now, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow, helps a lot. But also in the description below, you're gonna find all of Francesca's social media. Let's follow her and let's discover why she's super badass, right? Now, without further more, I'm gonna start this whole conversation by throwing out the first question, which is, what initially drew you to acting in the first place? Was there a specific moment or performance that solidified your passion for it?
Yeah. Well, from a young age, I've always really enjoyed singing. My cousin was always in plays and musicals when we were growing up, and we would go see her, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So, from a pretty young age, I started doing musical theater, which is what I primarily do now. And then it was right before college when I was looking at my options and considering what I wanted to pursue that I realized performing could be an avenue to go down, and what better time to do it than while you're young. So one thing led to another, and I went to school for musical theater. And I graduated into the pandemic. So through that, there was a little bit of a pause. And I took some extra time to get an online certificate in software engineering. So for my day job, I'm working on that while still being in New York and trying to audition when I can, try to perform when I can, and making it all work.
There you go. Epic start. And tell me, like, as an actor, you often have to inhabit the lives of various characters. So how do you approach stepping into a new role? And what techniques do you see? Yeah, like what techniques do you use, sorry, to make the character feel authentic?
Definitely. I think it depends on the role. Um, a lot of times for musicals, there can be, some genres that are a little more surface level, whereas some other roles are a little more demanding emotionally. I think a great place to start, though, is with how the character moves and their backstory. I'm really big on trying to understand what brought the character to where they are when you see them in whatever production you're working on. And so just having a really solid understanding of questions that, like knowing all about the character as if you are them. And just bringing that into, how they are in the moment where you meet them.
I mean, it's a whole other process, right? The fact besides just learning your lines, as some people might think, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Anybody can learn lines or recite something, but I think, to really make a connection, not only with the audience, but with the other actors around you, you really need to have an understanding of who this person is that you are bringing to life on stage.
Hmm. And has it ever happened to you that like during that process somehow you got to like too much involved? Like during that, because I do think that sometimes there is like this idea, right? We see it sometimes on big productions, right? That the actor went the extra mile to it, right? So has it ever happened that to you?
I wouldn't necessarily. Do you mean almost too far? Like when I think of like method acting, I always think of the Joker.
Yeah, like
Um,
that. Hmm.
where it's a little bit over the edge. And I'm not quite there. I think that there has to be, a little bit of separation between you and the person you're portraying, just so you don't, if you're, playing something really emotional every night, you have to be able to take a step back away from that sometimes. So for me, not personally, but I've definitely felt connected to roles before, whether I'm doing, a scene for when I was in school or when I've taken an acting class, um, or sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I know what you mean. But it's great. It's great the fact that like this whole process, I find it very interesting whenever you're about to portray somebody else. And well, most of the times, of course, it can be someone totally opposite from the real you, right? So I find that great when you find like that when you are in that process to create it and once you present it to the audience and when the audience somehow get like this connection because even though that you know that what you're watching or seeing it's not real, let's say, somehow something about it connect with you and you're like, you know what, no, I'm so totally involved with the character and into a moment that we see in a lot of times that when they kill our favorite character, sometimes you will even start to cry or you actually will feel sad about it. So I find like that connection incredible um during that, like during that process. So
Yeah, definitely. I just think the most important thing when performing is everything you're doing is working toward telling a story. Um, that's probably one of my favorite parts about theater in general is being able to tell stories. Something that's, people have been doing that since the dawn of time, passing down traditions to their children and their children's children. Um, so I think that, yeah, everything you do when you serve that, you can really allow people to connect with what you're trying to show them.
yeah, absolutely, it's great. And tell me, when you're in that process, let's say you got a character, good to go. So do you have any ritual or something that kind of put you into the character so you can start the whole scene with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like something I like to do is in that process of discovering who my character is taking a lot of notes. So taking a second to maybe look over some key things you've written down, about either their physicality, their backstory, and then most of the time I do musicals. So a huge process of that is making sure you're physically warmed up vocally and stretching and all of that. Being able to get, into the headspace and be able to perform vocally as well as connecting to the character.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And do you have a specific technique or something to kind of put the character away and return to be the real you, let's say?
I haven't found something like that. I guess, the act of taking off your makeup at the end of the night and taking the shower, washing it all away, maybe getting some food to refuel. But I haven't had to play a role yet that's been so physically and emotionally
Mhm.
taxing that I needed that break. So yeah, I think that's what I
So,
would do in the future if I had
no,
to.
I like it. So basically, at the moment, it's just smooth.
Yeah.
I like it because with some actors that I've had interviews, some of them, for example, will write an actual letter to the character, and then to kind of closure it, and then like to put it away. So, and and I find that really really incredible because at the end of the day, you were kind of the instrument to it, and somehow pieces of that, I would assume, that will stick with you for the longer run. And who knows, maybe at some point you will have to create another character, and perhaps pieces from other characters you played before could actually bring, but you can bring them back and create this new one too. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess in terms of, really putting a character to rest once the show is finished. Um, I will try the letter thing. That sounds cool. I think personally, it's just taking it all in and then having that moment after to really reflect on the experience you've had, and the story you've gotten to tell and the connections you've made with the other actors, on and off the stage. Um, but yeah, definitely, I feel you do bring a lot of that experience onto the next, for sure.
epic, epic. Now we're discovering why you're badass.
Thanks.
I'm loving it. And acting can be emotionally demanding, as we were talking. So, how do you maintain a balance between fully immersing yourself in a role and take care of your mental and emotional well-being? At the end of the day, perhaps you're not. I mean, you're not about to play this very deep character, but even though it can be exhausting, the whole process to it, all of that. So, like, what is your thing here?
Yeah, definitely. I think something that stuck with me that somebody told me at one point, but I don't remember who, is leave it all on the stage. Um, when you're there, be really present, be really actively listening, be really immersed. But then as soon as you leave, just like compartmentalize it. That's something else. It's, I mean, it feels real, but it's not real. Um, and like I said, I haven't had to play anything so emotionally draining yet, but I feel that's probably how I would approach it, as well as, maybe taking a second after to bring you back to you, center yourself a little bit before, yeah, going back into the real world.
Totally. And do you have like any specific hobbies or something to try to so you can kind of blow some steam off and kind of relax after a busy day on set or on stage, something like that?
Yeah, I love taking walks. I love just going on walks, sometimes with music, sometimes without, just to be alone with my own thoughts and reflect. I think it's just a nice way to, you don't really have to think about walking. So you can kind of let your mind reset. Um, and then, I mean, if it's been a really long day performing or, with theater, sometimes you get home pretty late. Um, I'll typically make a snack and just sit on my couch, maybe watch some TV or relax. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And do you like walking on the city or walking with nature or just some regular walking?
I mean, ideally, yeah, nature would be great, but that's not always a reality in New York. So if I can make it to, a nearby park, that's always preferable. But so even just the action of walking around outside in the city, as crowded and busy as it is,
Totally.
you can still think.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because the vibe to it, like if you if you get the chance to walk on with nature or to walk, on the city, somehow like those vibes can be like totally different and it's amazing like how emotionally or like what I'm trying to say here is that like the whole vibe to it, you know what I mean? That there's something about it that even I mean walking with, for example, like where I live, it's a little bit complicated to walking with nature, so it's city basically. But even
Right.
though like when you get the chance like to walk in the city and everything, and somehow something about it feels just relaxing. The same way with nature, but in a different way. So it's like the whole vibe to it basically.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's cool to experience so much happening around you, but to not directly be part of it. It's a great way to observe humans living their lives, going to wherever they're going to, and like catching a glimpse of them in that moment. So yeah, I see what you mean. It's different because I guess in nature we kind of do similar thing, we're walking and we're taking in the fresh air and maybe a bird flies by and you're like, oh wow, that was really cool. But like I feel, yeah, New York or wherever, whatever city, it's there's definitely a lot to see and take in without directly having to be involved, which I think is also, yeah, a little therapeutic.
Yeah, absolutely. For a couple of weeks ago, I interviewed someone who who lives in New York. Actually, it was a couple of months, but anyway, and I mean, and we were talking about kind of the same thing about walking and everything, and she was telling me that she likes walking in the streets and everything because of the random stuff that can happen that can actually distract you somehow. That for example, you will be walking and then somehow you start to see random people doing yoga in the middle of a parking lot and be like, okay, this is interesting, or some random people just dressing as a I don't know, as something and just giving free stuff to people. So I do think that that is like the whole vibe to it. That as I was speaking before, that something about it can actually kind of distract your mind. It could actually help you to it, and also it can give you the opportunity to learn more about people. I do think also that with acting, you can get the chance to discover more about yourself and more about society at the same time. So
Yeah, definitely. I think something great that an acting teacher I had once said was when you're on the subway, the first instinct will be to look down at your phone or to read a book or to do something to distract yourself. But occasionally it's good to stop and kind of observe what's happening around you without directly staring at people, but you get so much of life and so many different walks of life when you're in a place like the subway where so many people are, just trying to get somewhere. Um, and yeah, I mean, a huge part of acting, I think, is living. I think we get really caught up in obviously technique is good and it's good to have strategies to approach characters, but a huge part of it is how can you portray somebody if you can't imagine how they live, you know? So being in a city is the perfect place to try and understand, yeah, other people that you might not have encountered somewhere else.
Totally. And who knows, maybe at some point by doing that you can encounter your next character.
Yeah,
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I like it. And when you're listening to music, what would you say that is your favorite songs at the moment?
Oh, all right. Well, I'm definitely into Chaperone. She's been on my radar for a minute, and I'm really glad that she's getting her moment. Um, I'd say in general, I'm kind of a pop girl. Like I will listen to the top 40. Um, but some other great artists that I really like are SZA. I really like Tinashe. But ultimately, like Lady Gaga and Beyonce, I think are my top two artists of all time.
There you
So
go.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Cool taste. I like it. And if you could play any fictional historical figure, fictional character, or you know what, even an animal, why not? In a movie or a play or something. Who would it who or what would it be and why?
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny that you asked that after the music question because I think my answer would probably be Lady Gaga in like a biopic. I just think she is so cool. And um I think like I could like she's somebody realistically that I could see myself typing into in a way. Um so Stephanie Germano, she would probably be the number one, yeah.
There you go.
Oh,
You know, that is like the whole thing that I like about I mean, I remember when I first listened to her back in 2007, 8. I think it was it with her song Just Dance, I think. Anyway,
probably.
yeah, I
So
think it
this
was around that time.
yeah.
But you know, like something interesting about that, it was like her own. I mean, every now and then will listen to her music, and I find that, or at least I think that she was one of the pioneers to kind of bring something eccentric to it. You know what I mean? As you know, as a musician, to bring something totally bizarre, you know, in their videos and something like and specifically like in her genre because I mean, we will be seeing videos like that, you know, with heavy metal songs, you know, things like that. But with her, it was interesting because he was a kind of a between me, you know, it was a mix between all genres every now and then, and her videos and all of that, you know, and her style to it. So I find that pretty cool because at the end, I do think that you know, at the same time, she was able to inspire a lot of people and to also make them realize that you can have your own style and it's okay, you know, you can actually make it happen and just keep real to it because at the end of the day, people are gonna notice if you are not real with your music or if you're real at all. So regardless if you go like a little bit too far somehow, you know what I mean? So
But yeah, I mean, I think the shock value is a lot of how she rose to fame, and it's cool to see her now. She did that whole collaboration with Tony Bennett a couple of years ago before he passed, and she just had a show in Vegas where she was doing a lot of standards. So it's really cool to see her range. I mean, from a musician standpoint, it's she's tackled so many different genres, so I just really admire her for that. And yes, as you mentioned, like the impact she's had on the music industry as a whole.
totally, totally. She's gonna be in the next Joker film, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
speaking of the
with
future,
yeah,
yes.
about that. That's pretty cool. We'll see what happens. I mean, I love the first one. With this
Yeah,
one, we'll see, you know?
definitely.
There you go. And actors often, you know, have to adapt to different genres or style of performances as we have been speaking here. So is there a particular genre or style that you haven't explored yet, but you would love to try anytime in the future?
Yeah, I think honestly going back to our conversation before, I feel um it would be really interesting to try an emotionally deep and charged role. I feel like with musical theater, there are those roles for sure, but I personally haven't gotten the chance to play them, so it would be like a Les Miserables, like a Fantine in Les Miserables would be so cool to really dig into that. Or I'm blanking, but like yeah, anything with a little bit more gusto to it that
Look,
requires bring yourself really intensely emotionally every time.
okay. So with like with a little bit of more juice on it, let's say.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Versus something that's a little lighter and happier and da 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 like musical theater comedy kind
Totally.
of.
Totally. I like it. You're stepping up to more badass. You're stepping up the bar
Yes.
here, raising the
Someone will
bar.
let me, yeah, sure.
I love it. And if you were on a desert island and you could only bring three movies to watch for the rest of your life, tell me what would they be?
This was a tough one when I was looking over the questions earlier. Um, I think I narrowed it down to movies that bring me comfort. So the first one I would say would be Austin Powers Goldmember
Oof. Okay.
because something funny. Listen, when I watch movies, I love watching, a beautiful plot and something intense. But I think if I'm on a desert island, like I need comfort. So Austin Powers, hilarious, always funny. I could probably quote the whole movie. Second movie would probably be Frosty the Snowman, which is that's a hot take. But as a child, whenever I would be injured or sad, I would ask to watch that no matter what time of year. It's just again warm and comforting. And then I think the third one would be Spirited Away, which is another animated movie, but it's Hayao Miyazaki. It's just like a beautiful story about a young girl who goes on a journey. So again, comfort was the
Mm,
theme, but really well
okay.
made. Yeah.
With Austin Powers, the actor is Mike Myers, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's incredible the fact that he was able to play so many, like so many characters on that film. When
Yeah.
you were realizing, you're like, he not only did that, he did like two, three more on on that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he's made a couple of other films like that as well. I think The Love Guru was one, and then he made something else, which I didn't like the other ones as much as Austin
Mhm.
Powers. I think that was the best by far, but yeah, it's cool how he's just able to, leap into all of
Totally.
the different roles.
Now with Goldmember, Beyonce was on it, right?
Also Beyonce, yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember like on the first few minutes, they're like making a film on the film with Tom Cruise
Yeah,
and yeah, right? It's the
yeah,
one,
and
right? Mhm.
Paltrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many cameos. It's like it's just great. It's just a laugh.
Yeah, it's true. Like every now and then, like those type of films, I wish they could be. It would be fun, like to see like more type of that. Somehow we just got stuck right now into the era of making remakes, which some of them might be good, but I do hope if we could get the opportunity to kind of create stuff like that, or to get back to certain type of films that they're actually fun. So
No, I couldn't agree more. And I've also noticed that a lot with theater as well. There have been a lot more adaptations of film being brought to the stage, which it's a business. So I understand that selling something that people are already familiar with is a lot easier than trying to convince them to see a show that they know nothing about. So I
totally.
think that's why there's been such a push. But I agree. I would love to see a bit more original work coming to both stage and screen.
Right? Because I do think that at the end of the day, with stories is when you can get the chance to talk about on a specific topic, and sometimes you can bring in it to the next level and talk about really sensitive topics. And actually, I do think sometimes that with films, TV shows, plays, you can have like those conversations to it. It's like a safe space when you can have those conversations to it, and especially right now, I think it's well, I think that it's important to have those type of stories now due to the whole thing that is going on, and also to make people less divided. That if a couple of months ago, I've been talking about this every now and then, and it's incredible, like the amount of how of the division that we have between us, which at the end of the day, it's a shame because we live in the same planet, we want the same thing,
Yeah.
and I do think that it would be great if they can like put those type of stories into a film, TV show, and hey, let's talk about it. Which, at the end of the day, as you were saying, I mean, it's also a business, and taking risks like that, I can understand that might be like a little bit dangerous, but like the thing it I at the end of the day I think is necessary. I mean, we saw it when it was COVID, when there was no entertainment at all, and people
Right.
were just losing their minds. You know?
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think in regards to, yeah, world issues, that typically I feel stories like that come out after when there's been a little bit more time to breathe. Like I feel in the recent like the past year or the year before even, that's kind of when we first started to see things talking about COVID, where, when you're in the midst of it, it's sometimes difficult to make, statements on pressing things. So it'll be interesting to see the kind of art that's made in the next few years as things progress.
Yeah, I guess we will have to wait and see what happens. But
Yeah,
I mean, at the end, that would be great. And also, you can give the opportunity to new talent. I do think, and also like with this platform, that is one of the things that I have discovered. Like the amount of people they are out there who are either acting with music or directing, modeling, like you name it. It's incredible the amount to it, and it's a shame that sometimes we just know just like a very little to it, like the A-list stuff, which is it's understandable. But it would be great if you can get the chance to kind of show up more talent and be like, hey, we have this, sure, but we also have these people who have been a few years now who are like upcoming into being on the A-list stuff. So why not give him a chance to it? I think that is also one of the things that we kind of have missed over the past few years, that like the whole new stuff. So
definitely, definitely. Yeah, I mean it's interesting. From what I've heard in the theater world, there has been, there's kind of an oversaturation of the industry right now. Things are mostly built back from COVID, but it's a lot less in motion than I guess there once was, and a lot more people wanting to do it. Um, so yeah, it's interesting to see. And everybody's talented is the thing, you go to New York, you go to LA, everyone is talented. So more opportunity, definitely better.
totally. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. And if your life was turned into a movie, which actor would you want to play you and why?
Yeah, this was a tough one as well. I feel that I'm still very in the early stages of my journey. So I would say selfishly myself. I think maybe, you know, when I'm older, if I were to pick somebody, it would be somebody who's not even on the scene yet. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm going with, myself.
I'll take it. Original. I like it. More
Thanks.
badass.
Appreciate it.
Epic. And in the age of still, streaming platforms and binge watching, what's your guilty pleasure TV show or movie that you could watch over and over and over again?
Yeah, again, this is probably another hot take as, a theater actor slash like a real person, but I love Family Guy and The Simpsons. I feel
Mm.
like those shows are just stupid and funny, and I can turn my brain off and not even have to pay attention. So those are probably my go-tos. But in terms of, I guess, more mainstream, Bridgerton has been one that I've really enjoyed watching, as it's been coming out, and I'm excited for the new seasons. And then also, and just like that is also been a show in recent years where, again, like I don't think it's necessarily good, but I do enjoy watching it, and I did look forward to every week when a new episode would come out.
I like it. Those are pretty cool ones. Yeah. Yeah. Family Guy, it's great. Yeah. Simpsons
Yeah,
too.
it's
Yeah.
it's silly, it's smart, it's kind of musical. Um, Classic. And there's a million episodes. So,
And I think there's something cool about it that it's just fun.
yeah.
I just think that is like the whole key to it, that it's just entertainment, it's fun. I mean, sometimes they will touch a lot of topics every now and then, they will make fun of, every different type of people and everything. But at the end, it's just the way it is. It's a show. It's comedy. It's great. It's simple. But I do think
Right.
that has been like the whole key to it, right? That because it's simple, but it's funny. You know.
Definitely. And I feel like they kind of make fun of everybody across the board. They're not specifically targeting like one group of people or anything. It's kind of everybody's getting a hit. So, yeah.
I like it. I'll take it for sure. I'll take it. And acting often involves, vulnerability and putting yourself out there. So how do you handle criticism and rejection in such, competitive industry?
Yeah, this is a great one. Um, Especially with theater. I read a stat at some point that was like you will go on about 80 auditions and get one callback. Like that's the statistic. Um, so it's kind of having that mindset of there's always something else. Maybe this isn't the thing that I get. Like I definitely had times when I've had callbacks where I got my hopes up. But it's just kind of like when you get that rejection, immediately moving on. Like you can sit in it for a day and maybe be a little upset, but then like the next thing is coming. It's already happening. It's already being cast. Like you like just need to keep going. So um and I think something that's interesting that I've started doing is having a log of every time I submit or audition for something. So I mean, I think last year my statistics were like, from what I tracked, I think I submitted an audition for maybe 117 projects and I got called back for maybe like eight. I booked four things. And like I think two out of those four were because I knew people who were on the team who were making it happen, casting it. So I think it's just like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of rejection and you just have to know that going into it. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. So, having a good relationship with failure is crucial.
Totally. I mean, it's inevitable. Happens to all of us. And I mean, at the end, nobody like being rejected, right? So it's
Sure.
important for you to stay kind of healthy to it and not let yourself involve because, sometimes at the end of the day, it's not personal. So
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point as well. It's very arbitrary. Like we were saying before, there are so many talented people in the world. There are so many people who are equally deserving. They all want the same thing. And a lot of times it just comes down to maybe this one person knew the director and you didn't,
mhm.
or maybe they just liked this other person's performance slightly better than yours, but that doesn't mean you did a bad job. So I think that's a really great thing to remember as well. It's a business. It's arbitrary. They just need somebody to do the job and somebody else might get hired and you don't. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything about your talent.
There
So
you go.
good.
Now, let's say, that one day I call you and I tell you that I want to become an actor. Now, here's the thing, zero experience. So based on what you know and what you've been through, what do you think it would be important for me to know before jumping in?
Definitely. Um, there are a lot of different things that come to mind. I think that probably the most important one is that you're on your own journey and that you may see other people who have a similar skill to you, who look the same as you, doing more than you are, or so it seems. And you have to just keep your head down and know that you are on your own journey. You can't compare yourself to others. And in fact, it's probably better if you help celebrate like and uplift the people around you who are doing well. Um, just bring that good energy and keep going because you are the only person against you. It's not a competition. It's only you on your journey.
There you go. I'll take that into consideration. If I ever become an actor and I at some point write my memoirs or win an award or something, I'll be mentioning you in my thank you speech.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And like my last question, so we can all enjoy and relax after a difficult couple of amazing badass question topics here. So here it is. What do you think that could be the best title for this episode?
That is a tough one. That's really tough. Um, hmm, maybe like go for a walk or walking in the city or I don't know. That's really tough. I was hoping that like the conversation would lead me to an obvious answer by this point. Um, yeah, so I don't know, maybe like roll with it, just roll with it. I don't know.
Just roll with it. What about, let's see.
Help me out here.
What about, um, I think I have one. So it would be, mm, oh, I got it. What about act, smile, and laugh?
Sure.
Or just take a walk.
Yeah, I think something about walking. I felt like that was a really solid
Yeah,
part.
just take a walk. I like it. What do you think about that one? Just take a walk.
That sounds good to me.
There you go. I'll take it. I mean, at the end, what can I say? The fact that you are making it happen, you're pursuing it, you are showing up, you are creating results, you are enjoying it, you're having fun. I mean, it's incredible, and I do think that that's super badass and super inspirational too, because it shows that everything is possible, and specifically right now at this time that most people will get angry because of because they think they're not worthy to it. At the end of the day, you are showing that, hey, you are totally worth it, and you're making it happen, and it's possible. So that's super badass, and I'm super sure that in the next conversations we're gonna have in the future are gonna be about the multiple thousands projects you've been here, because at the end of the day you're honest to it, and that is like the most special part to it. You're honest to it because you like it. As simple as it may sound, we all know that doing something that actually makes you happy and to build from scratch something, it takes a while, and it can be a huge pain in the butt sometimes. So
Definitely. Yeah. Um, and I think what's nice too is I'm working full time. So it's trying to find those moments where you get the opportunity to perform with that make it all worth it. Make it all worth it and remind you of why you're working so hard to get those. So
there you go, epic. And now we discover why you're super badass.
thanks.
What can I say? And I also want to thank you so much, for making this happen, and also those who stayed and check out this episode. Let us know what you think in the comments below. But also, on the description below, as I said, you can get the chance to follow Francesca, follow her journey, and since now you discover why she's super badass, let's make her viral. Hashtag Team Francesca. And again, thank you for making this happen. Keep shining out there, keep rocking, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.